Good morning, 819S, on my way into work. It's a beautiful day. I think today's going to be 24, something like that. It's maybe, I don't know, 18, 19 right now. A lot of white clouds in the sky, but it's a nice day. I think the rain is let up for a few days, so I think that's good. I got a comment that asked, do you live in Japan? So, simple answer is yes, I live in Japan. I wasn't exactly sure why you're asking that, because obviously I'm riding in Japan. But if you want a little bit of clarification, I have lived in Japan for 21 years right now. I lived in Shikoku first, then I lived in downtown Tokyo, then I lived in Kanagawa, and now I live in Tokyo again. I bought a house a few years ago, and as a result, I don't think I'm going to go back to my country. I'm originally from America. So yeah, I live in Japan, and I'm probably going to stay here for the rest of my life. Being a homeowner, that makes sense. Obviously, I could always sell the house if I needed to go back. Yeah, thanks for the question. Hopefully that answers your question. Expanding on that just a little bit, with a personal comment or feeling. I do speak Japanese, but I feel a little bit disappointed in myself. I figured after 20 years I would be equivalent to a native speaker. Imagine being a baby and spending 20 years in a place. You're probably going to pick up that language, right? So if I were born in Poland or Iceland or somewhere like that, and I spent my life there, in 20 years I would speak Icelandic or Polish or, whatever language it would be. And 20 years in Japan, and I don't really speak Japanese as well as I wanted to. I can have conversations, I can ask for things. That's the most basic thing, I think. Asking for directions, asking for things in a store, stuff like that. I don't really discuss politics or economics or even taxes and things like that. There's too many different kinds of tax that I don't understand. And if I'm being even more fair, I don't understand those things in English either. The difference between all the different kinds of taxes and what the tax rate is and who has to pay for them and stuff like that. It's just not something I'm interested in particular. But yeah, when it comes to life in Japan, you kind of have to know these things, because I do my taxes by myself here, whereas in the States we could pay an accountant to do it for us. Yeah. And Royce, I saw the comment too. You said Japan is very safe in comparison. I'm curious to trade some stories with you when you get to Japan. So yeah, I'd like to know some things that go on over there in Taiwan. It's probably going to be surprising to me, I'm sure. Yeah. And other than that, I don't really have a specific topic today. I ended up going to bed a little later than I wanted to, so I didn't really have time to plan anything out. Yesterday I was looking for the news stories that I talked about. I found one that surprised me because I don't really remember hearing about it. 69-year-old guy was turned down at 14 different hospitals and ended up dying as a result. That one was wild. And then the COVID one I remembered, but I just didn't bring it up in the video. Yeah. As far as healthcare goes, I think those are the exceptions, not the rule. So I always remind people when you do see those stories, the reason it's in the newspaper is because it's unusual, not because it's the norm. So I think if you do ride here and you have an accident, hopefully no one ever has an accident when they come here to ride. But if you do, generally the healthcare system works really, really well for you, so you shouldn't have too much to worry about. Yeah. And off-roading was something I talked about too. A guy that I met in Wakayama, he said he doesn't see that many. Well, this was a long time ago too when I talked to him. He doesn't see too many gates and closed off roads and stuff like that out that way. I think it's because it's still not a heavily populated area, and I don't know how many people from the bigger cities like Osaka or somewhere would come down or go down to Wakayama just to ride off-road. I guess there'd be some, but I don't know if there's as many that could come from Tokyo. The Tokyo riders definitely go Chiba and Izu and Yamanashi and stuff like that, so yeah. Izu is the place that I wanted to explore, but every single rindo is a Japanese forestry road or service road. Most of the fun-looking rindos all are gated up. And I think part of the reason too, if I'm being really fair, is that with a declining population, that means there's fewer resources to go around. So let's say that they did want to open the road up, and then there was a landslide. Now the government has to use a percentage of their budget in order to clean up the landslide and fix the road. But if the road doesn't provide any useful purpose, and the budget's being taken away from something else, it makes sense that they wouldn't want to spend the budget on that. Just close the road off, and that would be that, right? And then my favorite road that I rode often was in Doshi Michi, Doshi area in Yamanashi. That place, the off-road area there, was fairly wide and really, really fun to ride. And one day I went there and they were installing a huge gate, and I was a little frustrated. I went by later to see if the gate was a gate for animals or a gate for humans, because in the mountains you often find gates for animals. When I asked the local about it, they called it shikayoke, which means keep the deer inside, I guess, for lack of a better translation. Yeah, I didn't know if they were setting up like a shikayoke gate or if they were setting up like a gate to stop people from entering that area. And the second time I went back there was a guy standing at the gate, and he asked me if I was his customer, and I wasn't quite sure what he meant, but I did know that there's a campground back there, so got into a little bit of a discussion with him about what was going on and what the root cause was and how local people felt about it and stuff like that. He was really, really great guy. He owned a campground that was behind the gate, so if you do go to his campground, you need to make the arrangement of what time you're going to go through the gate so that he can be there and unlock and open the gate for you. I didn't ask him if you stay at his campground if you can ride the area back there. I'm assuming he's going to say no, because that's the reason they put the gate up to begin with. But he said, yeah, there were 4x4s, like Jimneys and stuff like that were driving back there. He said there were a lot of, maybe is not the right word, there were often 4x4s that would go there late at night. They would drive into areas that didn't have a road, basically blazing their own trail, and the mountain owners weren't happy with that. Sometimes they would have campfires back there. Again, a little bit of a fire risk, so for local people that was considered bad manners or just considered off limits. He said that motorcycle riders would do hill climbs up some sections, again blazing their own trails, parts that weren't really wanted. There were parts that weren't wanted by the landowners. And as a result, after complaint after complaint after complaint by local people to the local government decided to spend the money to put up a gate and just basically restrict all access to that area. And first thing that I was surprised by is, did you say the mountain owner? Like, I don't think I understand what you're saying. Isn't the mountain owned by the local government? And no, I guess the mountain is owned by individuals. Obviously, anyone can buy land, and that was land that was made available, and people own it. So yeah, I guess, not really thinking about it, it does make sense. After thinking about it, without thinking about it, I never considered what the ownership would be like, but after thinking about it, it makes sense, right? Made me wonder how much it costs to buy a mountain also, because I was like, I wonder if I win the lottery someday, should I buy my own mountain? But yeah, that guy seemed to be, he didn't seem to care so much about people who were taking casual, slow rides through the trails, but he really didn't like, not him individually or specifically, but they didn't really like people ripping up the trail, people blazing their own trails, people camping without permission, people having campfires, and doing, I might say in some cases harmless damage, and in some cases possibly intentional damage to the mountain. But either way, damage is damage, so it makes sense. I guess the main point of telling that story there is, if you do go off-road somewhere, even if you're staying on the local streets, try to be respectful. I think if you're zipping down a backcountry road at 100 or 110 kilometers an hour or something stupid like that, expect some blowback from the locals. If you're riding wheelies down a farm road, people might get a little bit frustrated. If you try ripping through forest area and trying to make your own trails, people might get a little frustrated. So just see it from their point of view. If you know the place is public and you know that there's no issue with doing that, then go ahead. But if you're not 100% sure, then it's probably safer to not do it. Great day. Wish I didn't have to work today. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there and ride. Definitely ride on a day like today, and definitely ride safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.